So Mecca, the character who's described as the big bad, and a character who we have some details on, but not everything has been revealed about him. The actor who plays Lorenzo did confirm that Lorenzo does not know who Mecca is, which I will get to later on in this video when I talk about their interviews, some secrets and connections that they spoke of, so make sure you stick around till the end of this video. But regardless of Lorenzo and Mecca not knowing each other, there are going to be some connections along the way. Big Guap is one connection, and who knows, maybe Ghost is another. Maybe Mecca has heard of the name of Ghost, or maybe worked under him in the past. There's also Cristobal and Roberto, who will be returning, and they could be the other connections, but he's someone who's going to be causing issues in the present, because he's going to be muscling his way into the streets of New York. Not only will he want some power, but he's going to show Monet and the Tejadas a whole new side of the world. So in this video, we're going to run through what we know about Mecca, run through his character profile, and what we can expect from his relationships with the Tejadas, and run through some of these interview quotes as well. But of course, if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything Power Book 2 Ghost and Power Universe related. But let's run through Mecca's character profile, a character who's described as the big bad. He's calculated, manipulative, and dangerous. Mecca conveniently re-emerges in New York at the exact moment the Tejadas need to fill the void of a new product supplier, but when his mysterious past starts to become exposed, it reveals the drug business might not be his only endgame with this family. So that's Mecca from his character description, but as you'll see, he knows some of the characters already, some we know from season 1 and some we've only heard about. But let's run through some of the comments that he gave about his character in an interview, which I will leave the link to down below for those who want to watch the full interview with the actors who plays Cane, Mecca and Lorenzo. But Daniel Tejada, who plays Mecca, he said the choices that he makes during the course of this season will have a ripple effect that affects multiple people's lives in the world of Power Book 2 Ghost, and he's a presence that exerts some gravitational force. And interestingly, Berto Colon, who plays Lorenzo, he says that Lorenzo, he does not know who Mecca is, and he doesn't know what's going on in that element, but it will be a story that develops as the season goes on, and it's the same thing with Cane. He doesn't know who he is either, but there is a connection of some sort, and through the story of Power Book 2 Ghost, and the actor who plays Mecca said there definitely are more connections beyond just Monet, but it was those nature of these connections which they weren't allowed to speak of, but he could confirm there are going to be some connections. So we're going to touch on these points that he made in this interview, which I will leave the link to down below for those who want to see it. But let's lay the foundation of what we know so far. As we do in all of our videos, the foundation builds the bigger picture and story, so you'll always see me referring to the past, present and future. So let's start with Lorenzo and Big Guap, who's Lil Guap's father. We first heard about Big Guap in episode 3 of the first season, when Monet called Lorenzo after the GTG were putting all of their shit over social media, which would definitely cause unwanted attention from law enforcement. Now Monet wanted to cut off ties with the GTG, but Lorenzo told her that he couldn't do that because Big Guap took a bullet for him, so he feels like he owes Big Guap. So he'll definitely continue doing business with Lil Guap and the GTG. He told her to send Drew and go talk to Guap, not Cane. So we know that Big Guap and Lorenzo, they have a history, and they would have had a close relationship, so much so that Big Guap took a bullet for Lorenzo, and we're going to come back to this whole Lorenzo and Mecca situation in just a moment. But coming back to the present time in season 2 of Ghost, we saw how Mecca, he's going to be muscling his way into this power vacuum in New York. He's going to conveniently re-emerge in New York at the exact moment the Tejadas will need a product supplier. He'll make his mark by snapping Lil Guap's finger, and Lil Guap will soon find himself working for Mecca, not Lorenzo. Lil Guap will also need a new supplier because Rico was his connect when he replaced Monet, but now he's gone after Monet killed him, so Lil Guap will find himself working with Mecca, and I wouldn't be surprised if Mecca came back to New York because of Lil Guap, because of course Mecca knew his father as well. They used to run together and hit licks. But so will Cane be working with Mecca, and he needs to watch his back, because Mecca's been described as someone who's calculated, manipulative and dangerous, and Cane is someone who can be easily manipulated. We've seen how Tariq was able to use his words and ways to get Cane to hand over the murder weapon for both Jabari and Ramirez, which God knows what he's done with, and actually come to think of it, he could have very well hid it in the same spot which he got his original gun from, which was in one of Tommy and Ghost's old dead drop location, who knows. But it goes back to the point of Cane being easily manipulated, and if Mecca is going to give him this respect that Cane is looking for, then Cane is going to do what Mecca wants him to do, and he's going to work with him. But Mecca is going to be this mentor to Cane, which Woody McLean also teased in the interview, because he said Cane is all over the place, but Mecca is going to be someone who brings this calmness and strategic element out of Cane, in my opinion, and this is going to be the person that Cane benefits from the most, because he's going to learn some harsh lessons, and he's going to learn some valuable lessons from Mecca. But Mecca is also going to be in a relationship with Monet. He's going to be in bed with her, and even though the actor who plays Lorenzo confirmed that he doesn't know who Mecca is, it doesn't necessarily mean that Monet doesn't. So Monet and Mecca, they're going to be in bed together, and Monet stayed with Lorenzo despite him being in prison because his name carries a certain reputation that brings her some sort of protection in the streets. In episode 2 of the first season, she told Officer Ramirez that he can't give her more than what Lorenzo gives her, and she said, "You know what Lorenzo's name gets me in these streets? Protection." But the question I have is, what if Mecca strolls into town and can give her more than what Lorenzo can give her? Because at the end of the day, in the first season we saw Monet and Lorenzo get into this argument, with Monet telling Lorenzo that she's stepping up because he can't because he's got himself locked up. So Mecca may be someone who can give Monet something that Lorenzo can't, which is why we could see this relationship develop between the two. But he wants to show Monet this new side of the world, and he has a plan for them beyond their family business. What he means by this, we're gonna have to wait and see. But one person who's not going to be happy with all of this is Lorenzo, because the choices that Mecca is going to make is going to have a ripple effect across a lot of people on Ghost, and one of them is Lorenzo, because if he's in bed with Mecca and he's trying to show the Tejadas this new world and has a plan for them beyond the family business, then he's not going to be too happy with him. Monet, Cane, Drew, Diana is Lorenzo's family, and he likes to run things his way. Just like we saw in season 1 when he ordered Monet to work with the GTG, sent Drew to speak to Guap and go and get Cane back. It's only in season 2 where we'll see Monet starting to flex some of her independence, which will cause this Tejada split and divide. And Mecca will definitely be partly to blame for this Tejada split and power struggle, no doubt. For those of you who watched my full predictions video of season 2, which I'll also leave the link to down below, you remember how I mentioned this war between Mecca and Lorenzo, and based on this interview and the natures of these two characters who are strong and who will want control over the Tejadas and the streets, they're going to come to blows at some point in Power Book 2 Ghost. Whether it be in season 2 or whether they set this up for season 3, I think we'll see Mecca versus Lorenzo at some point in the future. Now, what Lorenzo could have if and when he comes out of prison is the help of Lil Guap, because of his history and relationship with Big Guap taking a bullet for him, and how he's always wanted the Tejadas to continue doing business with the GTG. He may very well join forces with them if he is released from prison. But does that mean he could go up against his family? Of course it could, because there's going to be this whole Tejada split and divide, which I'll speak about in a bit more detail when I speak about Monet and Lorenzo's characters during their character breakdown videos, but I can definitely see them at war at some point. But what about these other connections that they teased in their interview? Well, we've spoken about how Lorenzo could have heard the name of Ghost before, not necessarily being able to put a face to the name, because not many people could. Ghost and James St. Patrick, they were two completely different people. And even many people who worked for Ghost wouldn't have even been able to put a face to the name because he was completely off the grid, away from the streets. But I really wouldn't be surprised if Mecca and Lorenzo have heard the name of Ghost and they start to put the pieces of the puzzle together about who Tariq really is. Now, what other connections could there be? There's Cristobal and Roberto returning as well, whether they're in prison and have ties to Lorenzo or they're out in the streets and have ties to Mecca. I think it's one or the other. So there are those two characters who could be the connections that they're speaking of, so it's definitely one to keep in the back of our minds with these two characters. But that's Mecca's character, and someone who's definitely an interesting new player who'll be trying to make his mark in New York in a number of ways. There's connections, there's his vision for the Tejadas that he has for them beyond the family business, mentoring Cane. There's so much to look forward to with this character of Mecca. But drop all your thoughts and comments down below in the comment section. Let me know what you think these connections are down below. And of course, if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything Power Book 2 Ghost and Power Universe related. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.